Gen Z is losing sleep over money. A new study shows that 70% of young adults lie awake at night consumed by financial anxiety. Before we continue, please subscribe, hit a like button, or leave a comment below. Thank you. Across America, the glow of phone screens fills bedrooms long after midnight. Gen Z, the youngest generation in the workforce, is wide awake. Instead of resting, they are scrolling, worrying, or staring at the ceiling. They are haunted not by school assignments or relationship drama, but by bills, rent, and a job market that feels unstable. A recent AmeriSleep survey found that nearly half of Americans are losing sleep over financial stress, but Gen Z is hit the hardest. For them, money worries are not a passing concern. They are a nightly battle. 7 out of 10 Gen Z adults report lying awake at night because of money. That is nearly 3/4 of an entire generation too anxious to close their eyes. The reasons are familiar: rising prices at the grocery store, student loan debt, stagnant wages, and the terrifying cost of rent in major cities. While inflation numbers dominate headlines, these statistics translate into sleepless nights for millions of young people who feel like the American dream is slipping further away each year. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell has admitted that Gen Z graduates are entering one of the toughest job markets in recent memory. Inflation remains high, unemployment is creeping upward, and housing is increasingly out of reach. Many young workers are juggling part-time gigs or contract work with little security. The instability gnaws at them, creating an invisible pressure that follows them from work to bed. By the time they lie down, their brains refuse to shut off. Their sleep cycles are broken by racing thoughts of overdraft fees, rising rent, or the fear of getting laid off. The lack of sleep takes a heavy emotional toll. Young people describe waking up in the middle of the night with their hearts pounding, convinced that they are failing financially before they have even begun their adult lives. Some text friends at 2 a.m., only to find that they too are awake, spiraling over the same worries. The shared struggle has become a hidden part of Gen Z culture. Private group chats filled with confessions of sleeplessness, anxiety memes spreading online, and a sense that money stress is an unavoidable part of growing up. By the end of the night, many Gen Zers give up on sleep entirely. The stress is too heavy, the silence too loud. Some pull up Netflix to distract themselves. Others reach for TikTok, scrolling endlessly until exhaustion finally wins. A smaller number admit to simply lying in bed for hours, unable to move, a phenomenon now labeled bed rotting. This is how the story begins, with a generation lying awake, trapped between anxiety and exhaustion, searching for relief in the glow of their screens instead of in the safety of sleep. When the pressure becomes unbearable, Gen Z reaches for comfort in ways that feel natural but ultimately unhelpful. Instead of sitting down with a notebook to create a budget or planning an emergency fund, many decide to retreat. They burrow deeper under blankets, headphones in, screens glowing, trying to block out the noise of their thoughts. Avoidance is easier than confronting the reality of bank accounts and overdue bills. For a generation overwhelmed by constant bad news, distraction becomes survival. One coping method has even earned its own cultural label: bed rotting. It is the act of staying in bed for hours, sometimes the entire day, without the energy or desire to do anything productive. Bed rotting is not simply resting. It is scrolling through TikTok endlessly, binge-watching shows, or staring blankly at the ceiling while the clock ticks on. Surveys show that nearly 1 in 3 Gen Zers admit to this habit when financial anxiety spikes. Some even share their experiences online, turning bed rotting into a strange badge of shared struggle. Alongside bed rotting is the dark ritual of doomscrolling. Instead of avoiding stress, young people dive headfirst into it by scrolling through endless feeds of bad news. They check rising rent prices on Reddit, inflation charts on Instagram, or economic rants on Twitter. Each post fuels the anxiety further, but the cycle is addictive. The blue glow of phones burns late into the night, leaving them exhausted but unable to stop. Experts say doomscrolling offers a false sense of control. If you know the bad news first, maybe it will hurt less. In reality, it deepens the spiral. Others escape by immersing themselves in television, video games, or streaming platforms. Late-night binge sessions replace healthy sleep cycles. Entire seasons of reality shows are consumed in one sitting just to push money thoughts out of the mind. Some report playing video games until dawn because it allows them to inhabit a different reality, one without rent or debt. Screens provide a quick dopamine hit, a shot of comfort in the middle of the storm. Yet when the sun rises, the problems remain. The cycle repeats night after night, with energy drained and solutions left untouched. Psychologists explain that these coping methods are not laziness, but protective responses to overwhelming stress. When life feels out of control, the brain craves easy comfort. Bed rotting, doom scrolling, and TV binges deliver that comfort instantly, even if they solve nothing. For Gen Z, these habits are both a relief and a trap. They keep financial anxiety at bay for a moment, but reinforce the feeling of being stuck, powerless, and tired. This stage of the story shows how a generation is caught in the loop of avoiding problems while sinking deeper into exhaustion, setting up the bigger picture of the economic forces crushing them. Gen Z did not step into adulthood in stable times. Many graduated during or right after the pandemic, when job markets were shaky and industries unstable. Just as recovery began, inflation surged, hitting rent, groceries, and transportation hardest. The cost of living grew faster than entry-level wages, leaving many young workers feeling cheated. Unlike older generations, Gen Z faced an uphill battle before their careers even began, and that weight shows up at night when they try to rest. Inflation is not just an abstract economic term for this generation. It is the reason groceries cost double what they used to. It is the reason gas prices eat into already tight paychecks. It is why restaurant meals and coffee shop visits feel like luxuries instead of everyday habits. For those just starting out, small increases feel like mountains. Rent, especially in urban areas, consumes a shocking portion of their income. Some young adults admit they spend over half of their monthly paycheck just keeping a roof over their heads. By the time they calculate bills, loan payments, and transportation, there is almost nothing left to save. On top of inflation, Gen Z is weighed down by debt. Student loans hang over millions of young workers, with interest rates rising and forgiveness plans constantly under political debate. Credit card debt has also surged as many turn to plastic to cover basic expenses. The result is a generation starting adult life already in the red. Unlike their parents, who may have saved early for homes or retirement, many Gen Zers are simply trying to keep accounts from slipping into overdraft. The cycle of debt fuels the very insomnia that drives them to bed rotting and doom scrolling. Employment is another factor driving stress. While unemployment numbers rise nationally, even those with jobs face instability. Many Gen Z workers are stuck in part-time or contract gigs without health insurance or retirement benefits. Others work multiple jobs just to stay afloat. The dream of climbing a career ladder feels unreachable when the ladder itself seems unstable. Instead of building security, they feel they are running in place, always one paycheck away from crisis. This insecurity creeps into their nights, turning sleep into another battleground. Experts note that the psychological impact of this economic storm is profound. When people feel powerless against financial forces larger than themselves, avoidance becomes a natural defense. Bed rotting, doom scrolling, and binge watching are not signs of laziness, but symptoms of a generation cornered by circumstances. Gen Z knows budgeting apps exist. They know financial advice fills TikTok feeds. Yet advice cannot fix inflation, debt, or unstable wages. The feeling of being trapped feeds the cycle. Stress leads to insomnia. Insomnia leads to avoidance, and avoidance deepens the stress. The weight of the economy has turned into the weight of sleepless nights. Psychologists and financial advisors agree on one central point. Ignoring financial stress only magnifies it. Bed rotting, doom scrolling, and binge watching offer quick relief but delay the confrontation that could actually reduce anxiety. Experts emphasize that the brain craves resolution, not endless distraction. To break the cycle, they recommend intentional practices that face the anxiety without letting it spiral out of control. The first step is to acknowledge the stress and channel it into manageable actions instead of pushing it away until 2 a.m. One of the most practical tools is the worry window. Instead of allowing money fears to invade the night, individuals are encouraged to set aside 15 to 20 minutes earlier in the day. During this time, they write down their financial concerns along with potential solutions, no matter how small. The act of putting worries on paper helps signal to the brain that they have been addressed. Later, when the same thoughts try to resurface at midnight, the individual can remind themselves that the problem has already been noted and planned for. This technique is simple but has proven effective in reducing nighttime anxiety. For those glued to screens, experts recommend creating a phone curfew. At least 1 hour before sleep, all devices should be placed in another room. This reduces the temptation to refresh feeds that only amplify stress. Without constant notifications and glowing screens, the mind has a chance to slow down. Replacing this time with calming activities is crucial. Journaling, stretching, meditation, or reading a physical book can help redirect restless energy. These habits provide the body with cues that it is safe to rest, instead of signaling danger through endless bad news. Beyond managing sleep habits, financial advisors stress the importance of taking small but consistent steps toward control. Building an emergency fund, even with just a few dollars a week, can create a psychological buffer. Paying off one small debt at a time provides a sense of momentum and progress. Tracking income and expenses for just 1 month can eliminate the fear of the unknown, replacing it with knowledge. Advisors argue that knowledge itself reduces anxiety because uncertainty is often more frightening than reality. Small wins matter more than dramatic changes, especially for a generation overwhelmed by big problems. Experts also encourage a shift in perspective. Instead of viewing money as an impossible mountain, they suggest reframing it as a series of steps. Each action, saving, budgeting, or paying off a bill, becomes part of a larger journey. This reframing helps Gen Z feel empowered rather than defeated. Sleep specialists warn that stress will never disappear completely, but creating systems of control during the day can restore peace at night. The message is clear. While bed rotting and doom scrolling provide temporary comfort, deliberate routines and small financial steps can create lasting resilience. As weeks turn into months, the habits of bed rotting, doom scrolling, and late-night streaming risk becoming permanent lifestyle patterns. If Gen Z does not find ways to confront their financial anxiety, they may continue to sacrifice sleep, health, and long-term stability. Chronic insomnia leads to fatigue, lower productivity, and even worsening mental health. The same cycle that begins with financial stress could end up making financial struggles worse, as exhaustion affects work performance and decision-making. Experts warn that unchecked anxiety today can snowball into deeper crises tomorrow. Avoidance offers comfort in the short term, but compounds risk in the long term. Ignoring bills can lead to late fees. Refusing to budget can create mounting debt. Escaping into screens leaves no space for problem solving. A generation that prides itself on awareness of social issues may struggle when it comes to personal financial awareness. If avoidance continues, Gen Z may enter their 30s already weighed down by poor credit, unstable housing, and minimal savings. For many, the fear is not just about sleepless nights, but about whether they will ever feel financially secure. Yet the story is not only bleak. Within the same surveys showing high levels of stress, researchers also see signs of resilience. Many Gen Zers are open to new ideas, willing to try budgeting apps, financial literacy courses, or group discussions about money. Unlike past generations, they are comfortable sharing struggles publicly, reducing the stigma around financial anxiety. This openness creates opportunities for collective solutions. Social media, the same tool that fuels doom scrolling, can also spread financial education, support networks, and examples of small victories. Experts insist that big transformations are not necessary to create change. Saving a small emergency cushion, paying off a single debt, or even writing down expenses for 1 month can spark confidence. When people take control of one aspect of their finances, their anxiety often decreases across the board. Gen Z does not need to conquer the entire economy to sleep better. They need to reclaim small parts of their financial lives. Sleep improves when the brain believes progress is being made. Hope grows when small wins replace endless fear. The story of Gen Z's sleepless nights is still unfolding. The future will depend on whether the generation continues to hide from financial fears or learns to confront them head-on. If avoidance continues, insomnia, and exhaustion may become defining traits of their early adulthood. If they embrace small steps and practical strategies, they may redefine resilience in a difficult economy. Either way, the anxiety over money is not just a personal issue. It is a generational challenge that reflects the state of the modern economy. For now, the glow of phones will keep lighting up dark bedrooms. But the question remains, will Gen Z stay trapped in cycles of bed rotting and doom scrolling? Or will they find the strength to rise, take control, and finally sleep soundly? This is the end of that story. Now tell me in the comments, what's your story? I'll read out the most interesting ones in the next video. Do not forget to hit a like button and subscribe. See you.